Everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. We are live. So glad you guys are here. And today we have something that I know all of you are very, very interested in. Fifth pillar of the class, and it's agent matchmaker. But we're going to be talking a lot about commissions on here. We're going to be talking about how you can work on your commission with your agent, what you need to know. Are you paying a buyer on your side? Are you paying your listing agent and you're paying a buyer when you go to buy? That's really the question. I have Warwick here today as well, as you guys know, business partner and behind the scenes guy.
Hello, everybody.
Warwick has a train in the background right now. So he's on mute. He's on mute. So come on in, everybody. I'm excited for you guys to be here. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to get started because we have a lot of stuff to get to today. A lot of really, really significant stuff. Now, I'm going to, let's see here. How are we doing this here? Hold on. I know I do this all the time. Okay. A lot of important stuff here. And one thing I know from having this YouTube channel and talking about sell your home that everybody really doesn't like talking about real estate agents. It is honestly, our real estate agent videos are our least performing videos, and we get the most hate on them, the most comments about real estate agents. Now, listen, I'm going to say to you, for you all are probably thinking it's a necessary evil. To me, I think that real estate agents are very, very valuable and can make you more money and can alleviate a lot of your stress if you have the right one. If you do not have the right real estate agent, you could lose a lot of money and you could have an immense amount of stress. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how much stress you might have if you have the wrong agent. And the problem with, our industry, and I've said this and I've put, I've done my videos on this, is the problem with our industry is the barrier to entry is very, very low. And it's very easy to get your real estate license. And then many people, think, oh, I play tennis with Judy and I'm just going to use her as my real estate agent. And that needs to go away. That thought process from you right now needs to go away. You need to really be thinking about the significance of having a partner in your real estate transaction. I'm going to show you exactly how you can figure out if you have the right partner. Truly, this is it. I've done a lot of thinking on this, a lot of work on this. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to go through this very, very quickly because we've got a lot, and I'm not giving you every single thing that I talk about in Pillar 5. You guys know I have my class. This is part of Pillar 5, but it's not everything. As I was looking through it today, I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to cut a lot out. So if you guys know, I talk about the 5 different categories of home. I'm going to give you an example of a surface shine home that I had listed, and the sellers did not understand that it was surface shine. So what surface shine means is it means that the house looks good. So like this kitchen looks great, right? It looks nice. Looks really good, but they had not done any maintenance to the house at all. So like if you go in there and you can see right here like that is because these are like little marble tiles there, and it had this kind of, it just got gross, right? So that's sometimes what happens. And the house was not in great condition. They had deferred maintenance and they didn't understand what I was trying to talk to them about. Now, in addition, you can see this is the bathroom, same thing right here. This is what happens sometimes when you put marble in, which is why I don't recommend marble if you're moving. But anyway, the point is that the house, he wanted a lot more money for the house than what the house really was worth. And there was a lot of deferred maintenance. So I had a very, very honest conversation with him about, his house, his just things that needed to be done. He didn't agree with me. He did not. He was also very rude to me. And he did not agree with me on what I was saying. And I said, that's fine, but I wasn't willing to not say it. So we had kind of like a little bit of a run-in, kind of a confrontation where I said, I am telling you, your house is priced $150,000 too high. He said, well, I don't agree with you. I said, okay. I said, but I had to tell you that. So, my conversation was that pretty much we had an offer come in $200,000 less than list price. And of course, what happened is they refused to even look at it. They were insulted. However, I knew it was in range. I knew based upon the market that was in range. So we parted ways because he was mad at me, angry at me, yelling at me, disrespectful to my team. And I said, you know what? I would rather us just part ways in a relationship that's going to be beneficial for you and for me. So we walked away. And as most of you know, I don't I allow people to cancel their listing with me at any time with no fees. They didn't owe me anything. And I walked away. Great. So they sold 3 months later, and they sold for only $15,000 more than the offer I brought him. Their carrying costs were probably about $5,000 a month. Carry cost $15,000, worked out to be the same. Right. Okay. So let's talk about this. All agents are not created equal, because I was willing to walk away from my commission. I was willing to say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not tolerating this. I know I'm right. I don't feel like this is a good partnership. Now, there are many, many, many agents that wouldn't do that. And agents can cost you time and stress. And many agents don't understand the consequences of their advice. Many agents don't understand that by them giving you advice, it can affect you financially. And it can really destroy you, because many agents don't understand the significance of what they're saying. And they say the wrong things. And they're saying it without realizing, that maybe you just want to sell. You just want to get rid of the home. Maybe you do. I don't know. So they just kind of tell you sometimes what you want to hear. So when I say some agents are bad, I hate to say the word bad, but I'm going to say they're inexperienced, because in this industry, you have to understand the business to really know what the red flags are. So agents might be bad if they're a conflict avoider, if they're not willing to tell you the truth, if they're not willing to tell you the feedback that you're getting on the house. They might have personal interests at heart. They may have some ulterior motives. It's true. And that's why, you have to really be able to put it on yourselves to decide who the right agent is for you. They may not understand the market. They may not be experienced enough. They may not be in the community enough. So they don't understand, is it going up? Is it going down? This is one thing. When all of you reach out to me and you're asking me questions about your homes, the first thing I'm going to say to you is, what does the market look like right now? This is why you need an agent in that town who knows what does the market look like? Is it going up? Is it going down? Many agents don't understand that. And if you have a part-time agent, I'm going to say you should not be using a part-time agent. Like I said, no understanding of the consequences, poor education. There's not a lot of education in this industry unless it is in training when you're selling and buying houses. The education we get is all continuing education that is not going to help us teach our sellers more information about selling a house. Lack of social skills. They might just be rude, obnoxious, treat their peers poorly, seen it. They might be a typical salesperson. Yes, I'm acknowledging all of this to all of you. They may not have good moral character. And what's so interesting is that I'm seeing this a lot now being on YouTube, because you guys know I'm telling you the truth. I'm trying to be as authentic and real as possible as I can. And because of that, because we've done really great on this channel, we've had a lot of engagement, we've had a lot of interest, and we've built a community. We have a lot of agents who are just stealing what we're doing. And they are literally stealing our stuff and using it as their own. And it's kind of horrifying that there are a couple really, really good agents out there. Really, when I say good, very, very successful agents who literally have ripped off my stuff and put their name on it. And so there are a lot of agents out there like that. And this segment that I'm going to talk to you about is how can you figure out who that is, okay? Not good moral character. When you find an agent who has good moral character, you are going to win. I promise you will win. And the agent may be dead broke. So this is why some agents are just bad, okay? So bad advice can have a cost. And you won't know how much until you've lost. Totally true. Because you guys right now are not in pain unless you can't get your home to sell. You're not in pain unless you've chosen a wrong agent. Right now, most of you are just, doing your education for the time when you come to move. But when you are in pain, you are now going to recognize what I'm saying as significant, okay? You will not understand the significance of your choice until you've lost, until the end. And the problem, many agents are salespeople and not consultants. So how do you find an agent who is a salesperson, right? Of course, but who is your consultant? How do you do that? And many times it's because the agent is afraid to challenge their clients. Because you can tell if an agent is saying to you, your price is wrong, your house is not staged correctly, the paint in your house is not going to get you as much as you want for your home, That is an agent who is challenging you. Many, many agents won't challenge their clients. I was there. I know. I mean, I honestly know this from real life, is that when you get a very, very powerful client and you're not feeling comfortable in what you're saying, even though you do know, and they come off and they're rude or they're obnoxious or they're just mean, agents are going to back down and they're going to say, well, you know what? I don't want to make them mad because I'm going to lose the listing. That's really what it is. So an agent who is willing to challenge your choices is an agent who will prioritize your profits over their payout. I want you guys to take a picture of this one because this is really, really important. Any agent who puts your money in front of theirs and who's willing to challenge your choices and say, you're wrong, you are wrong in what you are thinking, is an agent you need to really, really consider. So an agent willing to walk away from a sale is a good agent. Any agent who's willing to say, you know what, I'm not going to take this overpriced listing because I'm not going to sell it. It's not going to be in the best interest of my client, so I'm going to walk away. So that's how you can really, really tell. So why is an agent who will walk away always a good agent? They are confident. They know their knowledge. They know their worth. They don't need the money. They may want the money, but they say, you know what? I'm not willing to do this for the money. They're not afraid to challenge their clients and lose the listing. And they have experience and know when sellers are making bad decisions. This is a key. Any agent who is experienced knows when you are making a bad decision. They know it. And they're telling you. And you're like, well, I don't like this person because they didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. But that's why you need to look at that agent a little more closely. So they don't tolerate being treated less than. I have many, many, many sellers and buyers who have reached out to me and treated me like they owned me, basically. That I had to jump for them, their beck and call, and that I would do things outside of who I was as a person. That is not a good agent, okay? And they can sense a good partnership or not. I can tell you when I get a good client who's going to be a good partner, we're going to have a mutually respectful relationship. And, many of you are thinking, well, you're making a lot of money. The real issue is that as real estate agents, we tolerate a lot of real emotional abuse, a lot of emotional abuse. And, when I go into somebody's home, I am being given this opportunity to see the inside of their lives. And I take that very seriously. I really, really value that. I take that as an honor when I go into somebody's home. But let me tell you what I see when I'm inside people's homes. I see a mess. I see chaos. I see spouses who hate each other. I see kids who are disasters. I see mentally ill people. And so when I go in there, it's very important that I understand that everybody is different and they're allowing me into this private, personal location in their home, in their personal lives. And to that end, many sellers and some buyers will turn around and take it out on your agent. I've been there many, many times. And so strong agents who are able to say, you know what, I'm setting boundaries. I'm not going to tolerate the emotions, or who can keep your emotions in check, is what you need to be looking for. And a good agent will know, they know the client won't listen to them. That's when they are going to walk away. So this may be how you're choosing an agent, okay? You're going to choose your agent because of how they make you feel. Oh, this person is so nice and sweet. Oh, I love this person. They do such great things on Instagram and Facebook, and they're always posting such great, wonderful, warm, loving posts. They may make you feel warm and fuzzy, but do you really want a warm and fuzzy agent? I don't know. It may be a referral from a friend. Now that may be fine, but you still need to do your due diligence and make sure that person is right for you. You might choose them because their name is everywhere. So there's a difference between marketing that you pay for, that you put out there, and really being there and having insight into the market. I know a lot of agents whose names are everywhere, but it's because they're advertising, or they're on social media, they're doing all this stuff, but are they doing the business? That's what you need to understand. They're marketing, people like their marketing. They are nice. This is a big one. So they're nice. Right now I'm being very, very upfront, very strong with you guys. This is not how normally I go into a listing presentation. I'm just pounding this out. So when I go into a listing presentation, I'm going to be much more like warm. Okay. So let's just put it that way. Look, I know you're looking at me thinking you're not very warm right now, but I am when I go into these listening appointments. But I'm not always the nicest person in there because I might tell them something they don't want to hear. Like I might say, the house really isn't worth what you think it's going to be worth. And I'm willing to have those conversations. So you as a seller might be thinking, wow, that agent wasn't very nice. She did not compliment my beautiful room. Well, the agent's looking at that room thinking, oh no, they really need to understand that this room is going to hurt the sale of their home. So when you're feeling good about your agent, you need to go deeper. You need to dig deeper and make sure that they're really telling you things that are true, not just what you want to hear. They agree with everything the seller says. If you have an agent who's like, yep, whatever you say, sure, you want to list at that price? Yeah, no worries. We'll list at that price. It's a problem. They price the home without question where the seller wants. Absolutely. And how can you tell if an agent is willing to walk away? So, like I said, I have so much stuff in the class about this, but this is the main thing to get out of pillar 5, which is your agent matchmaker, is how can you tell if an agent is willing to walk away? They aren't afraid to tell you something that you don't want to hear. They're not afraid to tell you that your price is too high. They're not afraid to tell you that, your house is not in great condition. They're not afraid because they know you need to know the honest truth. They have real stories, real in-depth stories about experiences, just like I'm telling you on this channel. You can go to other channels and you can look at other real estate agents and they're not telling their own stories. You want to hear from these agents. Are they telling their own stories? Or are they ripping them off from another channel, which has happened to us? So they've done many, many transactions. Now, many transactions, I view an agent, I really like to refer agents out that are at least 3 years in the business with a couple hundred transactions. Because the more transactions you do, the more experience you get. And so if I'm referring somebody that doesn't have many transactions, that's an issue. Like that's not what we want to do. They have a system, they have a process, and they are honest no matter what the cost. They're going to tell you the honest truth. And they allow you to cancel at any time. Now, not every agent is willing to do this. But if your agent is allowing you to cancel at any time, that means they're not concerned about their abilities to pull through for you. When I do that with my clients, it's because I want to have that back and forth relationship with them. Now, everybody does have to sign a contract for a certain length of time, but you can cancel it at any time. And that's because it allows us to have a better conversation rather than just being like, I have to wait until this, this listing ends before I find a new agent. It allows a conversation. It allows a partnership. Their peers respect and trust them. This is huge. This is something I didn't realize right in the beginning, is that if you are interviewing other agents and you tell them who you're interviewing, and that agent says, that's a pretty good agent. Yeah, I understand. That means you have a winner. Okay. You don't want an agent that's going to backstab another agent. They may say, I don't know much about that agent. They haven't done many transactions. I haven't seen them around much. I mean, you can say things like that. But if an agent is really slamming, like you don't want to use that person. Like that is not the way to do it. And they can handle their own negotiations. Okay. I know this is, like I told you guys, it's full of stuff, but also good agents don't negotiate their commission easily. I've talked about this. If an agent is willing to negotiate away their money easily, what are they going to do when it's time to negotiate your money? I mean, it's true. If they're like, sure, I'll reduce my commission just to get this listing. What are they going to do when it's time to sell your house and they have to negotiate for you? If they're willing to give away all their money, are they going to keep your money? No. So if you have an agent that's not willing to negotiate their commission, that could be a really good sign that you have a great agent. Really good agents who are willing to walk away, they don't work 24/7. They understand the need for a work-life balance and they set boundaries. Attorneys, you can't call your attorney all night, all weekend, can you? But you have to you can call your real estate agent all night and all weekend. When that happens, real estate agents, because we're getting tied up in the emotions. And if you have a verbally abusive client who's calling you at Saturday at 10 o'clock at night, yeah, it can really affect you as a person. Really good agents have been able to set boundaries so they know how to protect themselves if they do get into that situation. And they're very clear and they're very fair and they're very honest about it. They're not just ignoring you, but they're honest that, yes, I'm time with my family right now. Because this is a very emotionally charged industry. So they respect other agents, which is huge. And they understand marketing is not the only important thing to getting your home sold. They know how to price a home correctly, and they're responsive and communicative. Okay. Many of these traits that I've just gone through probably are going to make a lot of sellers uncomfortable. When sellers hear that their house isn't in great shape, or the price that they want isn't there, or the agent says, sorry, you know what, you shouldn't list right now, that's going to make you uncomfortable, which means you may not choose that agent. So you may only choose an agent that's going to make you feel good. Not the right thing to do. Any salesperson willing to walk away from a sale is a consultant. Okay, so how do you learn these traits from one single meeting? You ask the right questions. Now, I have a bunch of questions that I put together. We're only going to go through 2 right now. We're only going to go through 2. I've got the real estate compatibility checklist. So this is a question that you should ask. Okay. Can you not just tell me about yourself, or, you wanted to think about it like a job interview. Okay. You're interviewing the agent for a job, for a real job, just like you would in the corporate world. So can you describe a time when you had a difficult client or had to fire a client? That is a question I want you to ask an agent. And what you want to hear is how they handled adversity and difficulty when listing a home. If they have no experiences with this, or they've never fired a client, or they've never gotten fired, that could mean that they don't have enough transactions, or they're lying. Because it's true. I mean, I can talk to you all. That's what my whole channel is about: adversity, overcoming challenges. If they can't talk to you the way I'm talking to you about things, it might be an issue. So what this tells you, will they be honest, even if it means they lose the deal? Will they tell you the truth about when they lost a listing? Maybe, maybe not. So here's another question. Have you ever taken an overpriced listing and what happened? So what are you looking for? Shows an understanding of the consequences of overpricing a home. You want them to tell you how significant overpricing a home can be. You want to hear them say, yeah, I did overprice a home. I did this because of XYZ. And this is what happened. You want to hear that. And what this tells you, they will tell you the truth about the price, and they will advise you on how to get the highest price. Okay. I've gone through so much right now. I'm just going to kind of put this up on the screen because we're going to talk a little bit more about commissions. If you need this, take a picture or go back to it. Bad advice can have a cost. And like I said, you won't know how much until you've lost. Any agent who is willing to challenge your choices is an agent who will prioritize your profits over their payouts. Okay. I told you guys we have a class, but that's not what we're talking about today. But we do, because it is super, super discounted right now. And Work is going to put that, he already put that into the chat. You can use the QR code here. It's $27. We don't know how long we're going to do this, but it's only $27. So if you want the class, go ahead and fill that out. And I am, woo. All right, Work. Wait, where are you here?
Well, that was a lot of info real quick, but a lot of important things that you brought up there. Just a little side story. I heard from a friend of a friend that someone just sold their house, not necessarily in our area, but they were upset and they think they left a lot of money on the table. Then I looked up the listing and I saw they sold on the private network.
Oh,
and right now is not the time to sell
Nope.
on the private network. So
no.
did they leave money on the table? Yes. Unfortunately, they did, because they sold in the private network. And that means Zillow didn't push it. That means it didn't go out to the public. That means they just sold it because an agent knew an agent and they sold it that way. So there was no one fighting for the home. And right now in our area, there is a lot of people looking for homes and not much inventory. So that just goes and shows that having the right agent and talking about these things really makes a difference.
Yeah, it really does. Many people don't have the private network where you are. The private network is a behind the scenes tool that agents can use to market off market listings. But you have to be very careful, because I used to be like, yes, we're going to sell in the private network. But as the market shifted and got really hot, I won't sell anything in the private network now because it's not coming out to the full public. So you have to have an agent who understands that. But at work, we have a lot to talk about right now with commissions. Okay. Commissions. What?
The big topic.
The big topic. And the reason we're going to talk about this is because we get a lot of questions in our Facebook group. I'm going to have some QR codes at the end here for our free resources if you guys want. But Warwick will put the link to the Facebook group in there. Yep. The Facebook group is where we're building our community. You can go and upload your pictures, questions. Should I do this? Should I do that? Any questions you have about getting your home ready to sell are in there. So, but we have a lot of questions that come up about commission. So the problem is that what the industry has heard is that is not always true. Okay. And so what we want to do is we want to clear up some of the misconceptions, and we want to tell you how to deal with the whole NAR lawsuit and what's going on. So I found this that said Wednesday, March 20th. Now, this is right when the settlement came out. So if you're hearing bits and pieces in the news, you could be hearing wrong things. This says the commission offer completely removed from NAR's system. Home sellers will no longer be responsible for paying or offering commission for both the buyer and the seller agents. This is not necessarily accurate. That's the issue, is that there's a lot in here. Okay. There's a lot to go through here with this, is that typically what has happened is sellers have paid their seller's agent and then they pay the buyer's agent. Now, many sellers agents will have positioned this as you're paying 6% or you're paying 5% or whatever it is. And then they're not telling the seller how much they've actually been paying out to a buyer's agent. So in the past, and I'm going to say in the past, because I don't know what everybody charges. This is part of the whole lawsuit, but I'm going to give you some just completely lame examples. Okay. So if you were paying 3% or 6%, your buyer's agent may have received 3%. They may have received 3.5%. They may have received 2%. The listing agent is going to receive the other part of that. Now, what has happened is that the buyer's agents and the listing agent's commission is now been separated, which in our contracts in the Chicagoland area, we've been doing that for years, where we tell our sellers how much the buyer's agents are actually going to get. And so they've known. So you have to think about this. You are now going to choose to pay your buyer's agent, or you're going to choose to pay your listing agent, and then you're going to pay your buyer's agent if you want. Warwick, you want to add to that one?
Yeah. So there's a ton of confusion out there when people say 6% and they say realtors make too much money because they're making 6% and they don't know it's split. They don't actually know what's happening. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anyone is really here to blame, I guess maybe realtors at the most part. But when you're selling a home, there's a lot of things happening. You're under a lot of stress. It's emotional. But then when it comes to the closing table, you've got 451 documents you're signing with a lot of line items. Let's be honest, no one's reading everything. You have everyone there helping you, but it's just overwhelming experience. But yeah, right now, there is some confusion out there saying, cool, I don't have to pay a buyer's agent. And that is creating some confusion because you've never had to, but it wasn't pitched correctly or explained correctly. But now we're just making it more defined in the process, which overall I think is better for the industry, better for you as end consumers, and better for us as agents. But really, it's going to create a little confusion right now because of articles like this, where it's a blanket statement when really it's not a blanket answer.
So let's tell you what the truth is, okay? So NAR agreed to create a rule in the settlement that the prohibiting of offers compensation on the MLS. Now, this seems ridiculous to me. So sellers can still pay out buyer agents, and many sellers are still choosing to pay out buyer's agents. There's probably going to be a year or two where there's a lot of going all over the place with this, but most sellers are still willing to pay out buyer agents. The problem is now is that the sellers paying out a buyer agent commission, let's say it's a 2.5%, it is not allowed to be posted in the MLS. So I don't know about transparency, but this completely blows open any type of transparency, because now what happens is, as a buyer's agent, what I need to do is call the seller's agent and find out if the seller is willing to pay a buyer agent commission. Now, that's fine, but it's going to create a lot of uncertainty going forward. And so for many of you who are saying right now, so you mean I have to pay my buyer's agent or my seller's agent, my buyer's agent on my home, and then when I go to purchase, I have to pay my buyer's agent? Sort of, kind of.
Yeah. So now let's just talk a typical buying process right now. I'm looking for a home. You are my agent. You show me a home. You show me 20 homes. I haven't paid you $1. I haven't paid you anything. That's how the current process works. Now you find me a home. We go under contract. Depending on what home we go under contract, right now it says Katie will get XYZ percentage of the deal. What's going to happen now in the future is I'm looking for a home. I want to work with Katie. Katie's going to say, hey, great, I want to work with you. Here are my terms and conditions to work with me. It's either going to be a percentage of the deal or a flat fee or a combination of both. But you are going to have to engage into a contract with a buyer's agent before you start looking at homes.
So this,
yep, go for
yeah,
it.
so this starts August 17th, technically, but people are doing it right now, is that if you are a buyer and you go to look at a home, you have to have a signed buyer's agreement. So there is no more just running into a house because you want to see it and you're curious. If you go with an agent, they will require that you sign an agreement with them. Now, this does not have to be a long-term agreement. It can be a one-time agreement, but on that agreement, it's going to state how much money you as the buyer will pay that agent. Okay. So now let's say you're a buyer and you're like, well, I don't want to pay you anything. Then you're not going to see a home because the agent is not going to work for free. So then unfortunately, what you're going to do is you'll say, okay, well, I suppose we'll pay you. And the agent's going to say, okay, we are going to ask for the sellers to pay my commission, just like in the past, but we're going to have to write it into the contract. If the sellers do not write it, if the sellers do not agree and they do not write it into the contract, then you are going to have to pay that money. So now the buyers are going to be faced with, do we go and see homes that are not paying out a buyer agent commission? So that's the key for all of you out there who are telling me you can't wait till August 17th because you don't have to pay out a buyer agent. Well, yeah, but you may not get any showings because people may not show up because they can't afford to pay 2.5% or 3% on the top of the home to their buyer's agent.
So let's just touch on that. Currently, who pays agents, the buyer and the seller's agent? Who rarely pays them is the bank during the mortgage or closing process, right? At the closing table, all that money doesn't go directly into the agent's pockets, or it goes into the bank at the closing table. Then they distribute the money as per all the agreements. Now, the one thing with the money that is getting distributed, it is all financeable into the mortgage. So really, it's just rolled into the mortgage, and that's part of the fees and whatever that you pay for when you buy a house. Now, on the flip side, if you have to sign a buyer agency agreement and the house that agent finds for you is offering zero incentive or commission for that agent you're working with, you cannot finance that. You have to pay out of pocket. So say their fees $10,000 or $20,000 or $2,000. You have to write that person a check and say, thank you for your services. Or, and what Katie just mentioned is, when you submit your offer, let's say the home is $500,000 and it's a strong market, so you know $500,000 is the right price, you might have to offer $510,000. So that way there's that $10,000 commission that can go in to help pay for your buyer's agent fee. Now this gets more tricky because if the house doesn't appraise for $510,000, you can't get a mortgage.
Right.
So all this is doing is making everything more complicated for now, because there's no system and process in place to go through this, and people have to they have to experience this to learn how to combat these situations.
Right. So now I've had many people who are saying, and we got a comment here, I believe that's what buyers and sellers are waiting for, because there's a lot of confusion right now. Right. And that you should not wait until August 17th to list your house. I mean, zero reason, because this is already in place right now. The issue as a seller is that if you're like, I'm not paying out a buyer agent commission, well, then you might not get any showings. So if you are in a hot market, it might be okay. Might be okay. If you're in a slow market and you're like, I'm not paying out any buyer agent commission, then you have to deal with the fact you might not get any showings. Right?
And bottom line is, if you're not offering a buyer's agent commission, there's a possibility no one's going to show the house because they all don't have those buyer agent agreements right now. And that puts you at a big disadvantage. But let's be honest, the only reason you go to work is to get that paycheck. Same thing with that real estate agent. If they see they're not going to get paid, or there's a high probability they're not going to get paid, it's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think Warwick and I have really talked this through a lot. And I mean, we're not nervous about this or scared. Like we're not trying to talk to you guys about this so that you continue to pay it as a seller. Like, we really believe agents like us are going to be fine. We're going to succeed. We're going to thrive. We're going to make it work. But there are going to be a lot of agents who are going to leave the industry. So NAR at last count that I know of was 1.5 million real estate agents across the country. I believe in the next 2 years, we'll probably be down to 750,000. Now, I think that's great. I think that's really good to get a lot of the dead weight out, to get out the people who don't understand this, who don't know how to adapt, who know how to thrive and change. So I think that's okay. But you have to realize is that real estate agents do provide a value. Many of you I know, because we hear it, think real estate agents don't. But from all of my education on this channel, what I've been trying to do is to explain some of the real red flags that can come up, the things you need to do to get your home ready to sell so it sells fast and for more money. And when you have that partner with you, they're going to make you more money. Now, if you're not worried about losing money, that's fine. Go do it all yourself. But if you're really like, I need to make the most amount of money possible, and you're not willing to pay out agents, I mean, it's going to be a hard road. I mean, it is. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, just to put this into, I guess, layman terms, if you want to redo your kitchen, you don't go to a handyman that knows how to use a saw and has experience with wood. You go to a cabinet manufacturer or a craftsman that creates cabinets, and you go to them for their expertise, their knowledge, their tools, their experience, all of that. Same thing with real estate agents. If you find a real estate agent out there with one transaction in the last 12 months, it's just like using a handyman, right? He may know what he's doing, but he doesn't have experience, doesn't have all of that. So it's the same thing that you're going to have to do, is just vet out your agents a bit more.
Now, our commission's going to change in this industry. Absolutely. Like, lots of things are going to be changed. And what I'll tell you is I think the good agents are going to charge more. And I think the bad agents are going to charge less. So what's going to happen now is there are going to be a lot of companies that come out here and say, you know what, we'll charge you $50 to open the door and to let you in. We'll charge you $1,000 to write the contract. This is what's going to happen. You are going to find buyer agents willing to do that, which is fine. But they're not going to be able to guide you and help you the way that another agent would. And if all you need is for somebody to open the doors, yeah, then maybe that's it. But I think that the good agents are going to say, listen, I'm not working for $50. Yeah. Any agent who has experience working with thousands of people is going to say, I'm not going to do that. And then you as consumers have to recognize good agents are not going to be required to open doors for you for less money than they want for themselves. Does that make sense, Warwick? Did I explain that?
Yeah, but I think one big underlying thing we're not talking about is, why don't I just go straight to the listing agent? Mm-hmm. Because that's a lot of things we're also saying. When I go buy a house, I'll just go straight to the listing agent. Okay, you can do that. But some states don't allow that agent to represent both the seller and the buyer. but also the seller has to agree to this. And it's not in anyone's best interest to have the same person negotiating the same deal, in my opinion.
Yeah. And the reality is that, so let's pretend I'm your listing agent. So I list a lot of houses, right? So as a listing agent, especially in a hot market, I get a lot of contracts that I see come in, right? Lots of contracts, lots of agents are telling me, oh, please take our offer. My client is X, Y, and Z, all this, right? So let's pretend that I'm a listing agent and I've got 4 offers from agents out here. And then I've got one buyer who comes to me directly as the listing agent and says, we want to write an offer and there's no buyer agent commission. I say, okay, great, write it up. Well, what do you mean write it up? We'll write it up. Well, how am I supposed to write up the contract? Well, that's what you pay an agent for. So the problem is when somebody like that comes to me, and I did have this happen. Somebody came to me on a hot listing and we had 8 offers and they came to me and they said, oh, no buyer's agent. Now he knew how to write up a contract. He had done it before. Granted, the contract was like, it was like 5 or 6 years old, the form that he was using. So it was old, but he said no buyer fee. So I went to my clients and I put it in front of him. I said, so he's not willing. He's saying you can don't have to pay a buyer fee on this one. So we compared all of them, and you know what? He lost. He lost out because the other agents were telling their clients, if you want this house, this is what you need to do to get it. In addition, when he came to me, I couldn't vouch for him at all. I knew nothing about his finances. I knew nothing about his ability to pay. He said he was paying cash. I have no idea. I have no idea what his situation is. I haven't worked with him. So as a listing agent, getting somebody, a buyer, to come to me directly, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to vouch for that person. That person is at a disadvantage if they're not using an agent completely and totally. So now, we're at the phase now where, consumers, I think, are going to start to realize what agents have been saying now for the last, 6 months about this, is that the consumers are going to be the ones, the buyers especially, are going to be the ones who are hurt by this. Yeah. Don't you agree?
No, I definitely agree. And I would say I was this person that wanted to avoid all buyers' commissions and agents' commissions and do it all by myself. But realistically, unless you're doing something every day, you do not know the nuances of what happens. You don't buy a house every day. If you are a house buyer and you buy 12 homes a year, skip the buyer's agent. If because that's what you're doing. It's your profession. If you're buying one house, you don't know the market, the nuances. If you're selling one house, the same thing, back and forth. There's lots of things that are happening. But now an uneducated, unrepresented buyer is going to lose and lose and lose. They don't know what is happening in the market. They don't have somebody negotiating on their behalf. They don't have the funds to pay somebody if the seller's home isn't offering out a commission. The buyers are the ones that are going to be hurting here.
Right. So will the settlement increase or decrease the cost of selling a home? Impact on cost varies. Okay. Now, many people think that they're all going to make more money, which maybe they will, but this is not guaranteed. This is why you need to make sure that you don't wait until August 17th. Please just get with your agent right now. Agents can help you make more money. Absolutely. So people are saying these savings might not be passed on to buyers and could result in sellers pocketing the extra money. I can't even go there right now with this. This is just, there's so much here that nobody really knows how this is going to play out. But don't you, as an individual consumer, think that you are going to outwit everybody else right now. And you're going to say, I'm not paying that. Well, then don't pay it, but you might not sell it. Absolutely. So how is it going to affect your ability to sell the home? And you guys, I want you to put questions in here if you have them while we're here. Sellers might need to be more flexible and negotiate terms directly with buyers or their agents. I took this off of the NAR website. I took it out of one of the newspapers. The traditional model where the seller's agent decides the buyer's agent commission is changing, which might affect how attractive a property is. So now this is one thing we did mention, and I want to reiterate this. if you are a buyer, you will have to sign an agreement that is going to state how much you're going to pay your buyer's agent if you're going to look at a home. Here's the one thing. Let's pretend that you agree that you're going to pay your buyer's agent 3% on the home, but the seller, wait, no, other way around. Let's pretend that you tell your agent that you will pay them 1%. Okay. You'll pay him 1%. The agent says, sure, I agree. Well, you go to the seller and the seller says, but I'm paying out 3%. The agent is not able to get that. If because the agreed payment is 1%. 1%. So if you really love your agent and you're like, well, we'll just get it out later. That's the problem with trying to negotiate down on the commission. So if you talk to your agent and say, you know what, let's just put like 1% here because you're only showing me this one house. But if that house is paying a higher commission, then they're not even going to get that. Does that make sense? Did I explain that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, you did, but even me being in the industry, it's confusing. It's very confusing if you're not in it, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, I can get it, and I can see the frustration that buyers and sellers are having because we see comments right now. It's very confusing. It's overwhelming, whatever it is. How I mentally see it, I visually see it, is it's adding another dimension to negotiation.
Right.
And it's only making it more complex. And just so you guys know out there, a negotiation is not just price. Price is one of the 20 other things we consider when we're looking at an offer. There's financing, there's closing, there's millions of different things. Now we're also adding another dimension that is commission, and that's a variable, but then it's not because of so many different agreements that are out there. So I can understand why it's overwhelming. I can understand why it's confusing, and it's going to be that way for another 2 to 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here's a few things that we're just going to talk about, Work and I'll talk about. So commissions are negotiable. Yes, commissions are negotiable. They've always been negotiable. Now, have agents, listing agents said we typically pay out 2.5%, 3%, 2%, whatever it is? Yeah, for sure. Now, what you have the option to do is to pay out a certain amount to a buyer's agent. You're going to have that conversation with your agent. If your agent is not having that conversation with you, that's a red flag. Like any agent that's still telling you you have to pay out a buyer's agent, that's wrong. That's not true. That is wrong. And so you need to make sure that you ask about that for sure. Like I don't like to see that where agents just say, oh no, you need to still pay out this. That's not true. You don't have to. Now there are ramifications if you choose not to pay that out. But commissions are negotiable. But also what I want you to remember, agents do not have to negotiate their own commission. So they do not. So if you have an agent who says my fee for listing your home is 3.5%, and you say, well, commissions are negotiable, that agent may say, sorry, go find somebody else to do it. That's what I don't think the consumers are understanding is that we don't have to negotiate our commission, which means you get what you pay for. So if you're finding somebody that's going to do it at a discount, it's probably going to be a discount agent, is my guess.
Another thing that's happening in the market in general is it's a very slow market. There's no inventory in some areas. There's not much happening. So the agents that are still working have been paid less and less and less over the last year or two. But now they're negotiating. They're thinking money first because they're running low on money. It's just another thing to consider.
Yep, absolutely. So let's go through these. You do not have to pay a buyer's agent, but you may want to. And what is fair? I get this question all the time. What is fair? Don't worry about fair. Decide how much you feel you want to pay out to your agent. And then if your agent says no, well, is it fair to you? And is it fair to the agent? And the agent's going to tell you what they want. So either you take it or you don't. It's not about being fair because agents, listen, this is a hard industry to be in, like I've talked about. I know you guys are probably like, no, it's easy, simple. It's very hard. It's very draining. It's very taxing. But some agents just aren't going to negotiate their commission. So that's what's fair, I guess, right?
Yeah. And, when someone says the standard fee is 6% or 7% or whatever, those statements are somewhat accurate. And every region is different. Maybe typically your area is doing a 2%. Instead of a 2.5, 2.5. So you still will hear that. We're not saying you won't hear that. We're just saying, okay, question it.
Yeah.
What about if we offer 1% to the seller agent? listen to what your listing agent says as well. In this market, I don't recommend it, XYZ, or yeah, we could do that because it's a hot market or whatever. Just listen, ask the questions so you can be informed.
And also the other thing is I want to get off the percentage, okay? Because, you know, so many people just want a deal, right? And really sometimes what you're arguing about in percentages is like $2,000, $5,000. Is it worth it to you to have an agent who you pay $2,000 more to, who's a better negotiator, who's more honest, who you can cancel your listing with at any time, who is going to negotiate better for you? It might be. So take the commission out of your head and start adding up what do these numbers really look like to you?
This goes into any home service.
Mm-hmm.
Can you mow your lawn? Yes. Is it worth your time? Yes or no? Right? It's the same thing with anything. Can you paint your house? Yes. Is it worth your time?
Right. So this is what I'm getting right now because we're dealing with this right now. Well, I have to pay my seller's agent, a buyer's agent, and then my buyer's agent when I go to purchase. So again, you can choose any of this that you want to do, okay? You will have to sign an agreement with your buyer's agent. You will have to sign one. On that agreement, it is going to state how much you will pay. Now, that agent will then look at the house and say, okay, this house is not paying a buyer agent commission. Do you still want to go look at it? And you may say, no, I don't want to look at that because I don't want to pay the buyer agent commission on top of that. Remember, that's how buyers are going to be looking at your house. So
okay, you're listing my home. I have an agreement with you. I'm also looking for a home. I have to go sign another buyer agent agreement with you if I'm going to use you for both selling my home and buying a home.
Correct. Yeah. So people who are selling right now are kind of in a bad quandary because the industry hasn't been figured out yet. Is there a chance that you will have to pay your buyer's agent on the other side? Yes, it's a small chance right now. Most listings are still paying out buyer agent commission, but you still have to sign the contract. You still have to sign the contract. So I know. Okay, so hold on. Sorry. Here we are. You guys know we have our free resources. We have a couple more things we're going to go over in here. We have our Facebook group, which I want you guys to look at and join if you want. It's a lot of fun. I know some of you guys are in our group, and we've built a nice community talking to people. We get a lot of interaction. That's fun. Our seller checklist, if you have not downloaded it, you definitely should. That's free, 26 pages of how to get your home ready to sell. We've had almost 10,000 downloads on that one. And then if you need an agent, you guys know we will help you find an agent who is willing to walk away from their commission. That is what we're doing. I personally work on this along with Lisa, as you guys know, my daughter, and we are specifically looking at these agents and trying to figure out who's the best agent for you in your town, in your area. Sometimes, we get it wrong. Once in a while we get it wrong. Like I referred someone I thought was good, team leader, and he handed it off to an agent that had not even listed a home before. That was painful. We got the note from the seller. Thankfully, the seller did tell us that, and we found other agents. So that's what we're trying to do, is because we don't know for sure. These team leaders are saying, yes, I'm taking it, but then they might hand it off. So we'll help you find somebody to help.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add on that work?
Yeah, look, we're looking for agents. Being in the market, we look for agents and we see if they're an active agent, if it looks like they have a part-time job, do they have transactions, do they have buy or sell or both?
Yeah,
so
that's important.
We're just looking at them with an insider perspective. We talk to them, we let them know we have a client that is thinking about selling. So we really vet them out for you, and it's at no cost to you. So if you need that and you're thinking about doing that, reach out to us and fill out that find an agent form.
Okay, let me see. Why am I not going anywhere else on this? Oh, wait. Okay, hold on a second. Let me take this down. We got a couple more questions. We didn't get many questions today. And you know what? I'm going to say why. Because everyone hates talking about real estate agents.
And
right?
It's confusing.
Yep. So I have a question here. Should I stage my first floor den as a 5th bedroom? There's a full bathroom on the other side of the wall. There is a hall, closet a few feet away. There are 2 large floors, 2 ceiling windows in the room. I already have a living room, dining room, and family room on that floor. Now, this is a good question. If you're staging, I would say you don't need to do that, because especially if you've got, and I feel like, did I answer this one before already?
No, you haven't.
Okay. So I feel like if you've got large floor to ceiling windows, that's really not a bedroom. Like, it's really more of an office. Could you use it as a bedroom? For sure. Like, but I don't think you need to stage it. I would probably just kind of keep it as is.
I
For sure.
wouldn't stage it. I would talk to your realtor and say, hey, is there a demand for a first floor living quarters? And then it might be able to put in the listing in-law suite or whatever. That's a potential of how to do it, but I wouldn't stage it that way.
Absolutely.
5 bedrooms is a lot.
Did we have another question? I feel like I missed one, because you guys can fill out our contact Katie form, and we put them out here. We have a few people I know, and if you're in the Facebook group and you ever want me to talk about stuff, you just have to indicate that I can talk about that in our call. So
Yeah, I don't
just because I don't want to put something out for the Facebook group, if you guys don't want that out publicly, I'm not sharing that information. But do you guys have any questions for us right now? Because we kind of flew through a lot of information. I know you have questions. I know somebody's got to have a question about commission, about agents. And if you guys all saw it, Hollywood's here. My puppy's here because, you know, it's, I don't know if you can see it, because it's raining. Hollywood, come here. Come here. Hi. I know you guys saw Hollywood in one of my other videos. She doesn't like the rain. It's thunderstorming. All right. So what do we think, Warwick? Do we have any other questions here?
I mean, there's one question. I think we answered it. I'm just going to copy and paste it.
Okay.
Here. It's more commission conversation.
Okay. Why is it that homeowners are now realtor fees are non-negotiable rather than the old established 6%, but then must pay the buyer's fee too? It's not only ridiculous, but purely deceptive. Okay. So I think I tried to answer this one. So it is negotiable. It's all negotiable. And yes, it could be a sticky situation. Here's the thing is, you don't have to go see a home if it's not paying out a commission. That's the bottom line. And the reality, what's I think going to happen that could be, I don't know where the industry is going to go. And I just want to have kind of that honest conversation with you about this, is that let's pretend that you're a buyer and the seller has chosen not to pay out the commission. So what happens is, the agent, your buyer's agent, will write it into the contract and say the seller is going to credit you a certain amount of money to pay your agent. Let's pretend that you've agreed to go to the house, you write it into the contract, and then the seller says they're not going to pay the commission. But originally they were, and now they've got multiple offers, and they're like, forget it, we're not paying the commission. But you really, really, really want that house. You really want that house. So you say, you know what, I just won't pay my agent, or I'll get my agent just to not, I'll get my agent to come down on price. And so you move forward with it, and you have that contract with the agent, and then you choose right before closing, you tell the title company, I'm not paying my agent. That's not valid. So then you get to go to closing, you don't pay the agent. Now what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Well, the agent's going to have a choice to sue you. The brokerage will have a choice. The agent, your buyer's agent, brokerage will have the option to sue you because you did have an agreement. Now this turns into a long, drawn out mess. Right. And we all know lawsuits are not cheap nor fun. But because you were in breach of a contract, you will get sued potentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, and is that really the way the industry is going to go?
I'm sure there'll be cases of it, 100%. I can see it already. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think people are moral for the most part, but I think this is...
What if they don't have the money?
That's the biggest issue. I mean, you can sue somebody, doesn't mean you can get paid. There's plenty of lawsuits out there. People owe billions and billions and billions that are never going to get paid. But yeah, that's going to happen. So I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to change the industry. I think it's going to change the industry a lot. I think it's going to be really harmful for a lot of buyers, especially buyers at a lower price point who don't have the additional cash, who maybe barely coming to the table with a down payment. So who's going to represent them?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest party it's going to affect first-time home buyers, people with not a lot of down payment, the people that can't reach that 20%. You don't need 20% down to buy a home, but there's extra fees involved when you don't, for the most part. But now those people it's going to make home buying even less affordable.
Yeah. So maybe the thing is if you are at the lower price point in a home purchase, I would call that maybe like 250,000 and under. I mean, that's still a lot of money. But if you're at that price point, if you're choosing not to pay out a buyer agent commission, there will be a problem because those buyers probably cannot afford your home and to pay their buyer agent commission, which means then prices may have to come down, things like that. So if you're under 250, I mean, I really, really would think about it before you choose not to pay out a buyer agent. I mean, you don't have to, but you may not get any showings. And it depends on how much you want to move. If you're just testing the market, yeah, go for it. I mean, but if you really want to move, you need to move. These are very important decisions that you need to make with your agent. Talk to your agent about it. Okay, so we didn't really get any, well, we got a couple. Oh, we explained it, Sherry Lou. Yay. Explain the agent situation. Everything is now easy to understand. I hope so, because this is confusing for us. And we might be back next month with more stuff because the DOJ is still kind of fighting what's going on. There are things going on all the time. So we might change this a little bit. So every house you see, you'll be signing an agreement to view the property. Yes, every home, unless you sign a long-term agreement.
What about open houses? How are open houses going to work?
Open houses, you do not have to sign an agreement to go and see the home. You do not. But you're not, I mean, listen, lots of things are going to happen that we're really not sure of, but you do not have to sign the agreement to go into an open house because that agent is representing the seller at that point, not representing you. And so if you think you're going to say to that agent, well, I just want to make an offer on this listing, the agent's going to say, great, go get a contract. And then you're going to say, well, how do I fill this out? And you're going to say, I don't know, go find an agent. Because it's hard because we don't, as agents, we shouldn't be doing dual agency, So what, I'm going to tell you how to write up a contract so that you can beat my client out of, getting them more money. So if you can get an agent to write you up a contract for $1,000, maybe you do it. Maybe you do it.
Sure. Well, all I know is there's a lot of change coming. I don't think anything will be ironed out by any means anytime soon. I don't think you should wait until August 17th if you're thinking about selling your home. You can sell your home, firstly, when you're ready to sell your home. But secondly, waiting for a deadline is like, the perfect time to enter the stock market.
Absolutely.
You're never going to choose at the right time.
Yeah. So you guys know we're here every Monday. Love talking to you live. And if you guys want any of our free resources, everything's in the chat there. We love having you guys around. We love your comments. We love connecting with you, and we love you in our Facebook group. So let's keep going. Let's make you a profitable homeowner.
Thanks. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
Yep. See you then.